So I mentioned I was working on this code, trying to learn Swift, and I mentioned I was trying to implement the third edition GURPS book. So I'm basically I've got a little app here. I think it'll still run. Okay, maybe it won't run because I've not been doing that. But the testing is what I've been working on. So I think I'll fix up the problem with the running here in a second. But anyway, one of the things that I did was I put in every person that they created in the book. They have four characters. I think I mentioned this. This is this one particular character. The constructor for the characters, I really don't want to have to specify these things like this during construction, but that's okay. Right now I'm changing it and I can redo it. But you tell it how many points you have, and so I've got test code that'll say, "Oh yeah, I got 100 points." As you do attributes, they specify how many points they are. So this is like uh, this will be minus 20 points, or positive since you subtract it, or goes against your it goes against your allocated, so that's all right. This is also 10 is 0, so 20 is 2 above. This is 1 over, so it's 10. This is 20. And they also you can break this down, and on their character sheets, they'll have them summaries, like subtotals. So I'm going to say at the beginning, before the attributes, it's 100 points, because that'll be the same as this guy, this computed property. You do that, that's going to take up 20, yada, 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 and then you want to make sure afterwards that that's 70. Then go in for the advantages. I try to do everything using enums, so like you can make sure you're doing what. Do all your advantages and disadvantages as one. Quirks, likewise. Up here, I add them because I kind of do some things when I add them. This is just a list. In reality, it could be a set. But here's a little more complex. When you're adding the skills, they kind of build upon one another. This stuff about here where I'm saying, okay, survival, it is a mental skill. It works off of IQ, but if you have a default and you don't have the skill, then it would go against IQ, naturalist skill with an offset, or survival. If you were picking survival, and let's say you made another survival of a different type, it would be a different default. There was something I read in one of these books, and it's literally GURPS for Dummies, which is Rules Edition 4. But I was like, hey, if they've got a dummies book, that's kind of interesting. When I was reading it, it talks about how you could offset a skill from another skill and get bonus points. I'm not exactly sure, about this, but it doesn't really apply, I don't think, here. And you would kind of pull the points, and the example was something kind of like this, but it didn't really apply here because they tell you, like they show you, this is 100 points, and they show you based upon what you're picking how many points you get, and then at the end you're supposed to come back to 100 points, right? Because that's how many you have. So from the book, he was saying this guy is a crossbow 13, and based upon his DX, that's supposed to cost 2 points. Some of these guys, I go into a little bit more detail on the calculations, just because I'm tired of looking them up. So, here's this Favaro. They don't have the explanation of the points there. They would just say it's, a skill level 13, but just to make sure I'm going to test it correctly, I would say mental average. What is his existing IQ? It's 13, and that's equal to his IQ. Or pardon me, 13 is a level, and that's equal to IQ. Camel riding was 11. I think I'm missing some of this stuff. This is okay. So this is IQ. That is 11 is DX. Here's 114. So the IQ up here was 13. This 14 is IQ plus 1. Looking up in the tables, it's 6 points. And so, like, when I went down for those two writing skills here, I'm making sure that, 11, they're both 11, right? Yeah, they're both 11. They're both 2 points. Language, it was kind of weird. They didn't even have what it was going off of, but it turns out it's a mental, and I wrote very hard, but I don't think that's right. I think later I determined that was, let's pick somebody else that's got more. Better explanation. Carhan, does he do languages? Nope. Katrina. Corwin might actually have another language. Yeah. Did I write down here? Nope. Let's just look at language for a second. So we were looking at Favorano, and I wrote in the comments, let's look at what that skill is. I think originally I thought maybe it was very hard. Didn't say there, but it's an average. So if we go back up to this guy. Okay, Favorano. Still not sure why sometimes you pick things and they kind of go away, like maybe it was over there. So this is not hard. This is mental. Do all the tests again. Got a failure over here. What's wrong? 1 is not greater than 1. All right. So here's the next thing. I just added this. We'll fix that up. So this is finally getting so all the skills are done, right? That's out of the way. So you got the characters. Now you need to start adding their inventory. So the way I'm doing this is I'm building this as kind of a tree, and here I'm going to spell out a few things. So he's got a dagger, he's got a broadsword, he's got or this test has a dagger, broadsword, Excalibur, and the One Ring in his backpack. The Excalibur is $1 million. The One Ring is $1 million, or whatever the coin that is. That's the only. These guys have the cost as part of the ring. That has it. These guys don't, because they actually just specified in the book, and so you have swords. Swords can be broadsword, short sword, or two-handed sword. Broadswords can be 4 different types, including like a club. But I've only got coded for broadsword. Broadsword is a thrusting. Bastard sword and bastard sword, that's a thrusting. And so I'm trying to test both of those. Those are the 2 enums. and the one is magical, the one's not. You have a can description and a specific. The the default is kind of specified. So let's look at this test and see what's going on here. I originally put damages that were, um, I because I did the knife first, I thought the damages were going to be like 1D plus 1, or what was it? It says here, um, dagger damage 1D. So this would be 1D is one six-sided dice, so it has to be greater than 0. And since this is a random, and this would be less than 7. Less than 7. So the ceiling. This would be the floor. And currently, this is not quite right. It's going to do random, right? It's between 1, and that's the max. Down here, I noticed that when I did these swords, and the swords don't have that issue. Let's run this and see if it'll fast now. I'll show you that code. So since this is a hierarchy and you can cast, I kind of think this is neat, learning about this in Swift. So I'm going to go through the backpack. Then I have this if let. So this is an if condition with a variable. So you're saying if this item from the iteration, and you typecast it as a weapon, then this variable becomes a weapon, and it's known within these braces. Then look to see if it's a knife, and if it's that type, and it decodes to its a weapon knife type. Since I've only got one weapon knife type, I can just go ahead and start saying, at that different hierarchy, is it correct, right? Is it a weapon? Is the item a weapon? Is the weapon a knife? Is the knife a dagger? Because of the knife types, you've got 3 types. You've got dagger, long knife, and short knife. And then you can look at the max damage for these guys. You can look at the description and specific description. So we specified it was a rusted dagger, but the base description, the canned one, it's a dagger, right? And all items have these kind of capabilities here. Only daggers will have this damage, and only daggers or knives would have these knife options, likewise, if it's a broadsword, so that, if it's a weapon and it's a broadsword, then look at the different types. If it's a true broadsword with a blunt tip, that's the one that we added, right? Worn, then also making sure the descriptions as they go up the hierarchy are the same, depending on how you reference it. And then the other guy is a thrusting broadsword, so you can see the canned is blunt versus thrusting, and the specific is Excalibur, and I'm just using the item description, which is up there, but I could also do the same thing. Weapon description should be Excalibur, the sword description should be Excalibur, yada yada yada. And then the ring, the one ring, right, from Lord of the Rings. So let's see this. We'll try to run it, and when we run it, we'll look over there. So come back over here. Let's close all this. If you were to look at, I'll close these skills. Like I said, we've got advantages, yada yada yada. Let's look at an item. So this is what I've got planned. I don't even think there's potions or scrolls there, but I do see armor, weapons, clothing, and tool. Tool would be like a wrapper for thieves' tools, first aid kit, all that kind of stuff. Right now I've only got knives and swords as weapon types, and you've got this description. Weapon is shown here, since it's just so simple. It's just a weapon type. But if I go to something like swords, it's a little bit better. Uh, so it's a sword, but what type? It's a broadsword, right? We'll do up in here, we'll do short sword and two-handed in this same file. And this is what I was saying. For a broadsword, it's got some canned, it's got a canned cost, a canned weight, but you can override those, and those are your four. And then what you're passing in, so something like the self bit, you do that first, right? The the other stuff comes after the fact. That's like so. And knives, they have this max damage. I had all this stuff up in the weapons section, and I thought, how many dice it has and what the mod was would be correct. But in reality, um, the mod, this is like a max damage. Not the damage seems to go after your strength. So I haven't even got to that far yet, so I'm still doing it. All right, let's look at main, because I think that's where it's failing. Yeah, so this is varied. So let's just get rid of this so that we can do this again. I just put stuff up here to test. All right, so it's knife options. Whoops, let's go back. You can do like so, and you'll pull it out. We'll do large this time. And you can spell it, but you don't necessarily need to because it's of that type. So you can just do the enum for it. This is a string. We'll just do yada. Alright, and then here we'll just say false. It's not magical. This should run again. Okay, and then this will just say for that. Okay, well, since we called it a dagger, let's move it. Yeah, instead of it calling a dagger, let's say large dagger. A few times. This is 1D plus 2, 1D2. So it's going to be 1 to 6 plus 2. So it should be 3 to 7, right? So let's see. Hotkey run. Oh yeah, so it's here. So we've got, looks like our lint came up. Oh yeah, so I need to do one of those if let things. Not sure, oh yeah, right here. That's where it's actually coming from, I believe. Oh no, this is something different. This is a different lint error. This got some debug. This is where I was like trying to do this stuff on the cost. So like right now, all I'm doing is so this should be broken up as well. So this is adjusting points by the skills. I really should say like adjust points by skills and then adjust point by skill, right? So this would be an outer loop, and then for a specific skill, this would be the inner loop. But basically, he looks up in that dictionary when they're created. When you add it to the character, it creates a dictionary based upon that skill. So you would look up the defaults for the defaults are it could be it's a list or an array. It should be a set, but it's currently an array list, whatever. and each one, no, pardon me. The default, yeah, the defaults is a list. Within it, there's the character maintains a dictionary. The dictionary is of the skills based upon the key of the skill ID. You look in that skill dictionary for the ID of the skill. It will give you the list of defaults. For each of the default, you look to see if it's attribute or skill based. If it's based upon a skill, like one skill plays off of another, and it's let's say it's like, I don't know, skill X minus 2, and the currently desired skill is 2 right here. So if that skill base is um, some other skill minus 2, and that skill is the one that you're trying to calculate the cost, then it would be 0, and then you would just continue, and you would come down here. I mean, I probably should just say break or return 0, right? I probably could do that. That would be simpler. Let's just try that for a second. You can see when you're talking to people. So let's just, oh, I can't do that because I have to go through all the skills. Yeah, I can see why I'm doing this now. Like I said, I should do this as a breakup. I can't just say return 0 because I'm inside of another loop looking at all skills. If you don't have it based, if you're not don't have the default and the same level, then you're going to come down here and you're going to go based upon the attribute. And some attributes change, right? So you could be using this physical table, right? So this is it has it's a skill and the base, and it's using the mental one. It's kind of funny. This has the skill type. This doesn't change. I think because what did I do differently here? I don't necessarily even need to do this. Why did I do this? So let's look at skill costs for a second. It's been a while. Skill cost. So it's the skill type. So, because he's passing in the skill, so I don't even need that. All right, let's do this for a second. Let's just take all this out. Don't even need that. All right, because the skill types as mental is not being passed. Let's see if that still works. Nope. Nope, what am I doing? Let's look at this for a second. A skill, that's the same. This is the same. This is the same. Oh, I see the problem. I think we missed something there. It should work. Yeah. Yeah, that was making my life complicated. I didn't even need to do it. This also, because this up here is picking the base. So originally when I was doing this, I would say like, oh, this base needs to be like IQ. I think what was happening was this base would have to be IQ if it was mental. This base would be for a physical case, where this would be dexterity. But in reality, a skill, a skill that's physical possibly could be using strength or health or dexterity, and a mental skill could possibly use IQ or health or something like that. It was like basic, and then there's a boatload of skills, and I've only got maybe a half of them or a third of them. But anyway, we're learning. So that still, that for where needs to be looked at. And so that's that. They've changed this. Now you've got this kind of UI. So we'll just stage all this, commit it, push it. So it's just something to do while I'm sitting here. I actually really like Swift. It's kind of a cool language.